Have you ever noticed somebody who has bowed legs? Maybe it's on one side or both sides. In this video, we're going to talk about why that happens and some strategies in order to improve that. Hi, I'm Alex Effer, founder of Resilient Training Rehab, and I've helped thousands of coaches and clinicians get faster and more consistent results with their clients. Let's get into it. In this video, we're going to be focusing more on if someone has a bowed leg on the right side and why that happens. So when we get a bowed leg, this isn't just a knee that turns out, but it's a whole system event. So what ends up by happening is if somebody has tension in the front and the back part of the hip, then what ends up by happening is the pelvis starts to scoop underneath, almost like you're tucking your butt, and then the femur starts to turn back into the socket. So I've got a lot of tension going to the back part of the pelvis, as well as the front, because the pelvis is dumping forward, and then I get this scoop underneath of the tailbone, which then just brings the femur and the sit bone even closer towards each other. What then happens downstream at the knee is if this femur is really torqued into external rotation, then the tibia will also start to turn into external rotation. So I get this bending outwards of the knee. So now the femur and the tibia are turning outwards. In order to bend my knee, I need the tibia to be able to turn in while the femur stays where it is. When I extend my knee, I need the tibia to turn out relative to the femur. So what you can see is if this turns out, you can see by the bony point here, the tibial tuberosity, then this femur looks like it's twisting inwards. But it's relative, it's not actually turning in, because this is when I extend my knee, the femur is externally rotating. When I bend my knee, the femur is internally rotating. So in this case here, we don't have that relative motion at the knee or the rotation, so both of them will turn out as one big block. So now I don't have the ability to bend or extend my knee. And then at the foot, what tends to happen is I got this bowing out pushing me on the outside edge, then my foot now has to collapse inwards to compensate. So you start to see the ankle start to cave inwards. And that's just because if the foot were to actually roll out with it, you'd probably fall over. And so at the lower part of the body, what we have to think about is how do we open up the front and the back of the pelvis, the knee, as well as the ankle. And then of course, what's happening down here is also happening up top. You'd likely also have an elbow that is flaring out towards the side as well, a rounded shoulder. And so you'd have compression of the lower rib cage as well as the upper part of the rib cage. So this entire side essentially is compressing in the front and back part of the hip. So from an assessment standpoint, I actually like to get people to touch their toes. And what I'll do is I'll get them to put their feet together. And what should happen is their ankles as well as their knees should be touching in this position, because this space represents the ability for the hip to internally rotate. If I don't have this, you're going to have the knees not touching and the knees facing out towards the side. I like them to touch their toes, do multi-segmental rotation, as well as split squat exercises, because it shows me where their base support is and where they're able to rotate and not. It gives me that confirmation measurement of where they are in space. If you want to learn more about the confirmation measurements as well as my entire assessment model, check out my Evolve Biomechanics mentorship. We discuss all of this over 3 weeks so that we have an idea of the compensations and why they happen, as well as what to do about it. Let's talk a little bit about what we would expect to see during these assessment measurements. So with the multi-segmental rotation, especially as they turn to the right in this case, you will start to see the knee bow out even more and the foot really turn out. This is going to be the inability to sit back into that right hip, which is what we said. They're not going to have the ability to open up the back part of the hip. So when they turn, they're just going to start to shift out towards the side again. For the toe touch, now as they bend over, what you will start to see is their knees are going to start to go out away from their body. So this is very common because in order for me to touch my toes, I need that internal rotation of my hip. And the further I touch my toes, the more I need it, because the pelvis is going to start to roll over the femurs. I talked a lot about hinging and toe touches in previous videos, so go check those out. But essentially, as the pelvis starts to roll over top of the femur, I need this femur to stay in internal rotation. Otherwise, I can't open up the back part of the hip or as well as the back part of the pelvis. So if I don't have that space because my hips are tucked underneath, I'm clenching my butt, then I'm going to start to push my knees out because I'm going to go more and more into external rotation as I touch my toes. And then finally with the split squat, because having that right foot forward in this case requires hip flexion and internal rotation, which therefore the front and the back part of the hip need to be open to some degree, they're going to start to push their knee out towards the side as they go down. Because remember, they can't bend or straighten their leg. So if they can't do that, then they're just going to bend it outwards towards the side. As you can see, the knee is going to start to travel towards the pinky toe versus staying in between the second and the fourth toe. So again, this is a great representation of, do I have the ability to internally rotate the hip or not, and what happens with knee flexion. So now we discussed some of the reasons behind it, how we can assess it, and what kind of things we've seen in the assessment. Let's talk about 3 different exercises in order to help improve it. Now remember, these 3 exercises are based on principles. It doesn't mean it's going to be specific to your case, but these are going to help understand how we can reverse engineer this. So the first exercise, we're going to be using a foam roller. So how I like to position this is, remember, the back part of the pelvis is going to be really closed. Same with the hip. So I like to take the foam roller and put it right where the hamstring meets the glute. I then want to have my right arm out towards the side so my chest is turned towards the right. Now I don't want this right foot to fall out. I want to make sure that right foot's staying straight up. So again, we can get that space open and we can reinforce that internal rotation of the hip. And then I can just position this left leg wherever I need to in order to make it not too tight towards my body where I feel any type of tension in the front. But this left foot is going to be the thing that's going to allow me to go back and forth. So pushing this in, starting where the glute meets the hamstring, I'm then going to roll down towards the middle part of my hamstring, and then I'm going to go back. And what these people will feel is as they go down towards the middle part of their hamstrings, start to feel very sensitive. And even at the glute too. Now with this glute position, make sure you're not tucking underneath. That's what they want to do. So bring this hand as close as you can so you can feel like you're staying upright the whole time. I don't want you to lean back or lean forward excessively. You want to maintain this vertical position as you go back and forth. Because if you just do this, you're not actually opening anything. You're just further reinforcing the pattern you want to be in. So I'm just going to roll back and forth. Usually I do about 30 seconds to a minute. And this is just going to help internally rotate that femur and open up the space in the back of the hip. The second exercise is going to be a bit of an unorthodox exercise because we're going to get into this warrior stance. And the idea behind this is we want to make sure that if we put our foot underneath us, it's not going to want to go towards the side. So we have to find the position where that knee looks relatively straight. And so as you can see, this leg is a little bit out towards the side in abduction and external rotation. And I'm going to find a position where I don't feel tension in the hip to do that. So if I go way out here, I'm going to feel that right glute really squeezing and the stiffness there, or I may feel too much stiffness in the groin. So I just want to find a position that doesn't have any tension. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the foam roller against the wall so I can keep my femur into external rotation. And as I do the movement, my tibia is able to internally rotate. Now this back leg is also important. So we want to make sure both knees are going to be in line with the second to third toe, right? So if that means you got to shift the foot in more, push against the wall more, but this left leg is essentially pushing you into the foam roller. So I don't want you to think the right knee is pushing the foam roller and everything's twisting out again. It's the left side that's pushing you into the foam roller. I'm crouched down, right hand's going to reach forward, left hand's going to reach across, so I keep that left back open, and then I'm going to roll the right side forward and back. So again, this left side is just pushing me into the wall, and the right side is going to go forward and back, teaching my pelvis what it feels like to have my knee travel over my second and third toe and tracking in the hip properly. So you've been following along so far. In my opinion, this is a real game changer exercise. This is really going to drive everything and hit everything home. Everything that we were doing before is meant to put you in a better position to feel how that tracking can happen, as well as create space in the hip, knee, and ankle. What this exercise is going to do is really make sure you're going to stay over top of this right leg as you push off. A lot of times, people have bowed legs. As they start to load over top of their foot, you'll see their knee go out. If you want to see more examples of that, check out my gait assessment course. We talk about how that leg starts to travel out towards the side as well as cave in. But what this exercise is going to do is make sure we stay over top of this right leg. So what you're going to do is you're going to get into a higher kneeling position. So I've got 2 yoga blocks underneath my left knee. I'm going to grab onto a cable with my left arm, and I'm going to let the cable pull me to a point where my chest is facing towards the right. Now, when I'm pulling, I'm not going to let that leg go out towards the side. I'm going to make sure it's staying locked in over the second toe, pressing the inside edge of that right foot. I'm going to go here. This right arm is also going to reach back so I can really stay over top of that right side. What you're then going to do is you're going to push off the right side, hover a little bit, and then you're going to come back down. We're getting this rotation. We're getting into this right hip, and we're just going to go up and down, not letting yourself turn away from that right leg, really staying heavy into that right side. Bowed legs are quite common knee presentations. They're not necessarily bad, but understanding why they happen and what to do about it is going to be very important because it's going to reflect a lot of stiffness throughout the body. And if we can understand why it happens, then we can specifically pick exercises in order to reinforce joint position as well as reduce that tension. If you want to learn more about compensations like this, check out my Evolved Biomechanics mentorship where we cover compensations like this, how to assess it, what to do about it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, save, subscribe. I'll see you next time.